Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversions API Gateway, a path to best-in-class data-driven marketing through Meta. But before we jump in, what is Conversions API or CAPI, and why are we discussing it? Well, CAPI allows advertisers to share data directly from their server, their website platform, and their CRM with their Facebook Ads Manager. This feature is intended to use more first-party data and help recapture some of that lost data that we've seen in the past few years from iOS 14 and presumably other online marketing privacy updates. But before we get into all of that and before we meet the panel, I'll introduce myself. My name is Megan Parsons, SVP of Paid Media here at Ignite Visibility, and your MC for this event. Today I am joined by Rohit Bahita, Global Business and Product Marketing at Meta, Simon Poulton, Chief Data Officer at Ignite Visibility, and Javier Rodriguez, Director of Paid Social at Ignite Visibility.
What's up, everybody? My name is Rohit. I'm on Meta's Global Business and Product Marketing team, and thank you, Ignite team, for having me here today. I'm based in New York, and I've been at the company for 4.5 years and currently partnering very closely with the Ignite team on all things CAPI.
Hello, my name is Simon Poulton. I'm the Chief Data Officer here at Ignite Visibility, as well as the co-host of the Measure Up podcast. I'm excited to talk about all things measurement and of course, the exciting opportunity that we have with not just CAPI, but CAPI Gateway and the democratization of the server-side solution that this brings to advertisers across the board.
Yeah, and I'm Javier Rodriguez. I am a Director of Paid Media here at Ignite Visibility. Been here for around 3 years now and help oversee the paid social team, and super excited about CAPI. I think is super important for all things tracking for Meta.
What is Ignite Visibility? Well, we are a premier digital marketing agency partnered with the largest paid media platforms in the business. We have a premier, so highest level status of partnership with Google, Microsoft, and today we're talking with Meta, and we have the highest level of status of all the agencies that run ads on Google, Microsoft, and Meta. And so today, that's why we're here. So jumping into the CAPI conversation, a quick question for you all. Would you rather take side streets or the freeway?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I had to deal with as I live in Los Angeles and do commute down to the Ignite Visibility office down in San Diego fairly frequently. And one of the challenges that I run into is, there's traffic all around, and of course, you can take side streets or you can take the freeway. Both are effective ways of getting somewhere. The challenge is, and of course, I think we all sort of know this intuitively, you would take the freeway, right? The challenge with taking the side streets is there's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of places, quite honestly, you get lost. There could be roadblocks. There could be all kinds of things in your way. And this idea is actually not too dissimilar from how we should think about the way data is captured and processed through your website. When you have an infrastructure that is essentially asking the data to go through the side streets, it can get lost along the way. It can get blocked along the way. And that is exactly what we're here to talk about today, is how we're thinking about the evolution of the advertising industry as it relates to the in-browser signal mitigations that are now in place. Of course, Megan, as you'd alluded to at the top, one of the key challenges that many experience with some of these larger Apple updates, so ITP and where that's going, really comes in the form of signal loss, be it third-party cookie deprecation, or even when we think about the diminishment of the windows associated with first-party cookies. The all-in sum of this is that there are signals that are being lost along the way. And the way that we used to track yesterday is no longer the way that we're going to be able to track in the future. Of course, what we've seen from folks like Google and Apple is that this really is just the tip of the iceberg. So the way that we're progressing right now, and why I think CAPI is such a powerful solution, is that it does provide that parallel path for both using the in-browser and the server-side signals. So it's a really exciting opportunity that we have here. Despite all the doom and gloom you see out there in the broader industry, the opportunity to have great signals is really it's here on our doorstep. And while this has previously been somewhat of a large technical challenge for folks, today we're going to talk about how that has been democratized and how that is now accessible to all advertisers.
Yeah, Simon, I totally agree. And, you've probably heard about the impending deprecation of third-party cookies in 2024 on Google Chrome. But the reality is that this idea and concept of signal loss already exists today, and it's not insignificant. So things like connectivity issues, loading errors, and ad blockers are all hindering your campaign performance today, and also your ability to track and attribute conversions. And these things will only greatly intensify once Google Chrome deprecates third-party cookies, which is happening in 2024 in a very short period of time. So if you're targeting right now consumers like all of us, and they're just using browsers that have already disabled third-party cookies, you think about Firefox, you think about Safari, the signal loss is already really apparent in those browsers. And Google Chrome, which once again is the largest has the largest market share by browser, things will intensify once that happens in a very short period of time. So the key takeaway is that signal loss is hindering your campaign performance right now as we speak, and CAPI can be that bridge.
Absolutely. And I do want to hone in on one piece there as well, because I think one of the core challenges, and folks will often say, okay, so, my reporting maybe is down a little bit. And, we know after the iOS 14.5 updates that a lot more modeling is now taking place within the Meta ecosystem. But I would actually really hone in and say it's less about a reporting issue and more about an algorithmic optimization issue. And as you think about the reality of how more conversions are modeled, what that ultimately means is that your performance and your algorithmic optimization is based on a smaller set of data that is deterministically captured. As we think about that being a diminishing pool, that's the most consequential signal that you can have in terms of campaign efficiency. So when we think about those core levers that can really help drive your campaign optimization, data is right there at the very beginning. And look, from the beginning of Facebook advertising, that has been at the core, and why the Facebook platform has been so powerful has been these data signals that we're able to get back. And that's really what we're focused on preserving, is not just the reporting outputs that we're able to see and report up on. I think those are very important, but it really is the number one thing is the algorithmic optimization.
I think with how Meta is really pushing a lot of the broader consolidation and all those aspects of it, because at the end of the day, your Facebook performance, your Instagram performance, your Meta performance in general is really dependent on all those learnings that the algorithm is getting. So if you're giving it false positives or false negatives, which is a big issue, is going to make note of that and change up its targeting, change up who is showing the ads to, and that could hurt you in the long term. So this is really not just a play for the short term, but really for the long term, to be able to reach those people that otherwise maybe Meta would have been like, no, I don't want to show it to this person because similar people in the past did not actually convert, when in reality they did.
The future of data capture, understanding Conversions API. What is the Conversions API?
Yes, the Conversions API at a core level is the ability to pass data through an alternative method. So historically, what we've always used is what we call the client side, or perhaps the browser side, right? You had this pixel that you would put on your website, and that would allow for a payload to be generated within the browser and sent through that browser. Now, in a world where those signals are blocked, where the in-browser connectivity is limited to not being able to send a signal to an endpoint at Facebook, you have to think about that alternative route. So if that's our side street, what's our freeway? So our freeway here is going to be our ability to send this server side. And what's really quite wonderful about the Conversions API and the way that it is being developed by Meta is that it does allow for a parallel processing stream. So what this means is that you still have those in-browser signals, but you also have the server-side signal. And those signals are able to deduplicate because you have matching IDs. So you can think of this as a game of telephone where you say one thing over here and one thing over here, and you see that, does it make it to the end? Are those signals correct? And what you'll sometimes find, and this is at the core here, is that there is a delta that exists between what's coming through the server and what's coming through the browser itself. In this particular scenario, this is only going to continue increasing. So, I like to tell folks that it's like erosion. Like if you sit there and you watch a cliff erode, you'll never actually realize that it's eroding, right? It's very slow. It's very painful. But if you watch a time lapse video of something occurring, then you start to see over time, oh wow, okay, this is diminishing, and that's exactly what we're seeing with the current state of the in-browser signal versus the server-side signal, and why the Conversions API is such a powerful tool. So once the Conversions API has been implemented correctly, and you have these parallel paths of data flowing, what you're able to see within the Facebook Business Manager UI will be each of your events that are coming through, and you've probably seen this historically for a very long time, but it would have always said it's coming from browser. Well, now, when this is implemented correctly, you will see it'll say multiple, which means that you're getting data that's being collected from both the browser and the server side. So in this particular instance here, this is a real world example that we have implemented for a client, and this pertains to add to cart events. That's a really high quality intent signal. It's also a very easy signal to miss because it doesn't always have PII associated with it. So there can be some challenges there, but it is such a critical interstitial segue moment in terms of determining that need and high intent from a consumer. So what we see in this particular example is that utilizing the Conversions API, we've actually observed a 17.7% lift. Now, this is not a uniform lift that can be observed across all different types of events, but in reality, there'll be some variance here, but there will always be some lift. And that is what is so critical about this, is finding the opportunity to preserve that signal resilience. And I think Javier, you've got a few examples of this in action in terms of what clients can expect to see.
Yeah, when you see here that the server, there's more events from the server than the browser. Previously, like Simon was saying, without Conversion API, you wouldn't see any of those server events. So you would miss out on the difference, and those would be called false negatives, right? So the algorithm would take it in as if the event did not occur. So it says as a negative, that person did not actually convert. So it's going to take that, it's going to learn from that, and next time it's going to take a lot of data points, obviously, and it's going to tell it like, okay, people that are very similar to this more likely are not going to convert because this person, obviously, it's not that simple. It's a lot more complicated, a lot more data. But overall, you're giving it false negatives, which you shouldn't. You want to give it as much positive and real information as possible so it learns and it can better target in the future.
So we've talked about what is Conversions API and what's going on with the broader ads ecosystem, but if you don't have CAPI implemented, you're probably thinking why. And the answer to that question is the performance benefits are the number one reason you should implement the Conversions API via Ignite. So at Meta, we've done a lot of back-end testing, and we basically compared clients that have the Conversions API and the Metapixel versus just the Metapixel. And we have some really amazing results. So on average, clients with the Conversions API, CAPI, they see 13% better cost per result, basically CPA. And it doesn't stop there. Clients and advertisers with the Conversions API, they also see 19% more additional conversions reported. And that's pretty much in line with the success story that we saw with Ignite. So the bottom line is that you don't have CAPI implemented, you're leaving a lot of performance on the table. You can take steps right now to get implemented via Ignite very quickly and easily, and you can start leading into these amazing performance benefits immediately. Now, I'm not going to go into details of all of these success stories, but the key takeaway is that CAPI equals bottom line business results. So when you implement CAPI via Ignite, you can expect things like increase in conversion rate, better CPA, increase in attributed revenue, higher return on ad spend. All these metrics and important things that move your business's bottom line can be achieved through CAPI.
This has been a really big focus of our Ignite paid media team, is really breaking through platform metrics to client business objectives. And we've been, that's just been super critical to our business and to our success with our clients, is really breaking through that barrier to better understand what does it take from an ad spend, from a conversion rate, from a media mix modeling, from a creative perspective. What does that take in order to achieve desired either top line or margin level improvement. Maximize your performance. Take action to implement Conversions API. Benefits of Conversions API via Ignite. What are the 4 main benefits?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I think one of the key sort of considerations of the Conversions API is, since its inception, it has been a very technically robust solution, which I think is maybe a polite way of saying incredibly advanced and out of the reach of most advertisers. Historically, it was something where advertisers had to create essentially their own receiver service, right? It required a significant technical lift on many parts of this. And one of the, I think, central democratization points that I alluded to earlier in our conversation is really tied to this idea of the gateway. So the gateway is something that we've set up in partnership with Meta that allows you to utilize our server infrastructure that is set up on AWS in order to pass this data over to Meta. What that means is that it's much faster to do this, right? When in the early days, when I first started working on some of these CAPI implementations, it could take months to get the ball rolling here, and it was very bespoke per client. There were a lot of inherent challenges. That time has now decreased significantly, but we're actually seeing turnaround time at less than a day, and I'll touch on exactly what needs to happen in a moment. It's also very cost efficient to utilize the solution through us, in that there is no additional setup cost for utilizing the CAPI gateway. And for the majority of advertisers, this is something that we are absolutely beyond excited to provide to you as part of your engagement with Ignite Visibility. So one of the areas that I had alluded to there was the technical simplicity. And it really is this simple. I promise you it is. I know when someone says, oh, it's really simple, and they give you a 5-page essay on how to do these things. Well, this is it. There's one piece of this here. And that is, you just need to set up a subdomain, gateway.yourwebsite.com, and then point that at gateway.ignitevisibility.com. That's literally it. Once you've done that, you work with our team. We make sure that on our side it's configured within the gateway, and suddenly you've created your parallel path. So no longer will the payload only go through the browser side. It now also has that endpoint because it's coming from your domain. And that's the specific element of this, right? This is a first party signal. So you're sending data to your own domain. That's what minimizes the mitigation factors, right? The ability to send it to your own domain, that's never going to be blocked. So that's why this is so powerful. And then ultimately, you also will have no maintenance costs associated with this, because it's something that we are going to be handling on your behalf. Again, in partnership with Meta, and ensuring that we're always utilizing the latest and greatest version of this. The reality is there is no such thing as a moment where we're all static in the world of digital advertising. And certainly there will be ongoing in-browser tracking mitigations that will need to be handled in the future. But this is the best thing that you can be doing to future-proof your digital marketing campaigns for success. And look, this isn't just tied to Meta, tied to Facebook. Across the industry, we're seeing a move towards server-side, with things like server-side Google Tag Manager. The thing is, though, Meta is by far the industry leader in this space. They've been ahead of this for years, and that's what I really clung on to early when I've been working with Meta on this over the years, is the fact that because they jumped on this really early, the solution at this point in time is so innovative and so streamlined that it really does make it very simple for advertisers. And that's at the core of today. So if you're listening to this right now and you're saying, okay, this all sounds really interesting, I'd like to do this, all you got to do is speak with the account manager that you're working with here at Ignite, and then set up that domain, that gateway.yourwebsite.com. So whoever handles your DNS records, just speak with them, get that pointing to gateway.ignitevisibility.com, and we'll handle the rest.
Simon, I think you sort of alluded to this, and just to quickly put a bow on what you just said, you go back a year or two, you said that it could take clients months to do a CAPI integration. I would actually push back. I've actually seen years, no lie, I've seen years for a client to complete a CAPI integration. They perhaps need to hire an external developer. They need to tell that developer to hook up to the marketing API. They need to do ongoing maintenance. For larger advertisers, there's a lot of red tape that needs to be cut down and worked through. But now fast forward today with Ignite's custom gateway solution, it can all be done in probably a matter of minutes. So we're really excited about the impact that this will make on the businesses that work with Ignite.
So for some folks out there, you may already be utilizing the Conversions API. And if you are, that's wonderful. But if you're not, then this is an excellent solution for you. So you may just be using the Meta Pixel currently, in which case, then this is a great opportunity. So if you're not sending those events through CAPI, this is exactly what we should be doing. And then also, if you don't have the IT resource, if you've got the IT resources but not enough developer time, then this is again a great solution for you. Broadly speaking, even if you have the resources internally, I look at this and say, this is an excellent solution. There's no real downside here in the fact that this is a managed solution that was developed in partnership with the engineering team, with the solution engineering team at Meta. The thing is, though, having a server-side connection alone isn't enough. Now you've got the freeway, you've got to make sure you've got some smooth streets. You've got to make sure that you've got enough lanes to handle all the traffic. So as we think about those lanes and thinking about the efficiency or the speed that you're able to gain on that freeway and how efficient that journey can be, we have to talk about something called event match quality. So event match quality is really the sum of the parameters that are associated with a conversion event. So when I can tell Facebook, I can tell Meta all day long, here are all the events that I have coming through. But if I have no IDs associated with them, Meta cannot reconcile that back to the point of the advertising interaction. That's a really critical component. And right now, when we think about the in-browser signal, that payload is already collecting a lot of this data when it is available. But in the broader sense, what we're really looking at here are these 7 key areas. So the first one is hashed email. And I say hashed email, it's very important to note that even though you are sharing PII here with Meta, it is hashed. A hash is uncrackable. I believe I read somewhere years ago it would take all the quantum computing power in the world, somewhere in the region of 500 to 600 years, to crack one email that had been hashed. Right? It is essentially an impenetrable mechanism to ensure that no one can ever resolve that email if it ever got exposed. So that's a really good point of security and privacy feature here. Next is going to be client IP address, client user agent. These are really important signals for stitching back to that same user, because maybe you don't have that email, right? When you think about an add to cart event, you often don't have an email coming through at that moment in time, but you will have an IP address. Things like a hashed phone number, that's really important. A Facebook login ID. So this is something that will come through with the user that can already be automatically recognized and picked up there. If they have any other hash contact information, any external IDs, so you may have your own user ID for an individual. This is particularly helpful if you have a login state on your website, but those users may use your website across multiple different devices or in different locations. Well, that external ID can actually be utilized by Meta. So, of course, we've got all these signals that Meta is sort of natively picking up and looking for in terms of what's available in the data layer. But the external ID can be your own bespoke ID here that you can be bringing in, as well as the browser ID. So these are really, really critical features. And I put it out there as something that, as you think about this over time, there is no sort of one-size-fits-all solution to this. And it's something that you'll have to work on and that we can work with you as well on in terms of really optimizing that signal. So it's not just about opening the freeway again, it's about making sure that we have that clean line of sight. And the reason for this is the ability to improve that event match quality leads to a significant lift in the in the unification of those events with users who've had those ad interactions. So, for example, 33% share of incremental purchase events were observed by a group of advertisers here. That's an incredible lift associated with this, and something I would absolutely really want to focus on. So even if today you've got CAPI in place and you're utilizing a different system, event match quality is going to be the number one thing you should be thinking about from now and into the future as you think about payload optimization.
So to sum up, the benefits of CAPI Gateway via Ignite really is as simple as speed, cost efficiency, technical simplicity, and no maintenance cost. Simon went over how easy it is. Make sure you talk to your account manager at Ignite Visibility to get this set up for you and get you steered in the right direction. All right, well, that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much, Simon, Rothith, and Javier.
Thank you for having me, Megan, Simon. Javier, there's two things that you take away from this session. It's one, CAPI equals better campaign performance, and two, Ignite is probably your best path to getting it done.
Yeah, as Meta is moving more and more away from different and more specific detailed targeting, the way for us to accurately target the right people is to give Meta all the correct signals and avoid false positives and avoid false negatives. And CAPI is a great way to ensure that we're giving Meta all the signals, all the correct signals, and allowing Meta's algorithm to really determine who to show our ads to.
Thank you so much, Rohit, Simon, and Javier for a great presentation. And thank you so much for watching and attending our webinar. If you would like a free audit of your paid media strategy, feel free to email us at sales@ignitevisibility.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next webinar.